Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, we're going to learn how to make an AI-powered document summarizer like this one you see here on my screen. So today, first of all, we'll be making the backend today. Then next week, we'll make the front end. So before we start this video, I do have a little bit of prerequisites that I have to say. First of all, I need to make sure that you have a JavaScript knowledge, precise in Node.js already. Then I need to make sure you have VS Code installed on your computer already. If you have these things installed, let's get started. So before we get started, here's a quick demo about how the website actually works. You can't really sign in or you create an account. So for me, I will just sign it because I have an account already. So let me just sign in. Then from here you click on this upload a PDF to summarize. Once you click on it, you take it to your computer and you select the type of document that you want to summarize. Now for me, I will just go with one of my class material, which is this right here. I'll just go with it. Now it will be uploaded and you give it some time. Once it's done, you get a summary. So yeah, it just finished summarizing the document right now, and you see the title of the document is Comprehensive Guide to Compiler Design. From here, you get the detailed summary of everything that you're supposed to read in that document. Then from here, it gives you a map of everything that you need to take note of, and it actually gives you a logic flow if there is any. Yeah, there are some logic flow, so it gives you some logic flow to follow. That is step-by-step instruction for you to follow, so you don't miss out. Now, why I might advise this tool is good, I also advise before you use this tool, you have to first of all have read the document once or twice. That is only when this tool would be useful for your summary. Because once you're done reading a document once or twice, getting a summary and following up with a summary is actually easy. So with that being said, let's get started. VS Code right now. I'll just drag in this folder from my desktop and place it here. Then from here, we'll create two from this side. We actually need to create two folders. Make a directory, for short mkdir, for short server cr. Then from here, I will change my directory cd for short to the server directory that we just created. Once I do that, you see from this I see everything has been changed to server directory. You see we created a server. Then if you are familiar with creating Express application with Nodejs, you know that before you start anything, first of all you need to do your npm init. They'll add -y for default settings. So just give it a little bit of time and we should be done. So everything is done now. You can see you've gotten your package.json here already. From here now we can actually start installing our libraries. So let me go check. For our libraries, these are the things we'll be needing. Now don't worry, you don't actually need a prior knowledge about these things. As we keep on as we progress on the project, I will keep explaining what each of these things does. But basically they are relatively simple and not quite hard to use. Copy and go back to my terminal. I'll click npm install and just paste everything here, press enter. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of time and it will install. Once it's done installing, I will come back. Yeah, as you can see, everything is done installing, and you can see our package log.json over here and our node modules. Now before we go further, let me go check my document to see what we have next. Now next, in our backend start, we need to configure our database. Now for this, we'll be using Supabase as our database. Let me just let me use another Chrome tab, so we do everything from scratch together. Supabase. Now we'll click on this very site. This is what we'll be using for our Postgres database. We click on start your project now and sign up. Signing up is relatively easy. It's nothing, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, I will just create an account here with my email address and now they've sent me a confirmation link on my email address, so I'll just go confirm it and come back. Here's the email. Here's the confirmation link sent to me by Supabase to confirm my email address. I'll just click on confirm email, and once that is done, we'll be redirected to our dashboard. Now the setup is relatively easy. Let's see. Create a new organization. Yeah, that is okay. We'll be using the free plan as we don't have any money to spend yet. So we'll be creating a new project. For this, just change the project name to Conceptify and the database password. Actually, I would just suggest you copy your Conceptify and paste it here also. I said you need a stronger and generate a password for us and click on copy. And I don't create a new project. Now we have successfully created our Conceptify project on Supabase. So first of all, what I will advise with you see the password you generated and copied the other time. Come over to your VS Code on the root directory of your server file, or you just easy the terminal. You could just do, let me just do it from this side. Just click on create a new file and call it a .env file. So we successfully created a project on Supabase. Next up is creating our database or connecting to our database per se. We click on database section over here and we look for a place. You see this connect button right here. Click on connect and it will give us a connection string. From here we select Node.js, then leave it as primary database. Method of connection, leave it as direct connection. First of all, it gives you this prompt to install Postgres, etc. etc. Don't worry about this, we'll be doing this together. From here we'll copy our Postgres URL, database URL, and see it said create a .env file. So I've done that already. Just come over here and click on create .env file. From here, just call it database. Database URL and just paste it there. And it said your database password. Okay, now since it's asking for our database password, let's come over to here and look for password. You click on database setting. So once if you ask for your database password, you use the password you used when you were creating our project. So that is the password you use. So once we've done that, let's proceed to the next step, which is configuring our database. Now we've successfully gotten our connection string from Supabase. Next thing, come over to the terminal, click on make directory, mkdir for short, and click on config. Great. Now just change my directory to that config folder that I just created right now. And yeah. So inside this config folder rather, we create a new file called db.js. This is where we're actually going to configure our database. So from here we'll just first of all we need to do one thing, because if you come over to this our package jurisdiction, you see this, where is it? You see this type is command.js, which means that you can't actually use the normal import that we use. You see, if we use this import now, you get an error. So, and I'm not quite conversant with import instead of using this constant whatever. I actually don't like that. So I'll come over to this my package of JSON. I'll click on this type and I'll change it to module. So once you change it to module, call to X or save if you are using Windows. If you are using Mac, you better Google search it yourself. Then import. Now you can see now there is no error. Import Sequelize. What Sequelize? Yes, I did go. So I just imported the package that we'll be needing for the to set up our config file. So from here we need to set our connection string srint equals to process.env. Now we use the name of this our database URL in this very database string over here. So copy the name and add the dots and paste it there. We will create constant equalize the directory telling you that it's using EG. Now for the dialect we are using Postgres. Then command login, set this to false, command then dialects model. We set this to PG and we are good. Now with this we are done setting up our database, but there is one thing again. We actually need to test this connection, and there is only one way to do that. Now in order to test this our database connection if it's actually working fine, because we are done with it, what you need to do is from this our root directory, which is server, create a file there named server.js. Then from here we import express from express. Then let me just quickly set up this server. Import course from course. Then we import Morgan. Then we import helmet. From helmet. Then we import again. I will just do the same thing for this my .env file /config. Then from there I think we are done. Let's create a new app constant app equals to express. Then ports obviously constant priority ports equals to port 3000. Then we set up our middlewares apps.use Morgan. All these are middlewares. Morgan is a middleware. Helmet also is also a middleware. App.use helmet. App.use bracket express .url encoded extended to true. Yeah. Then another middleware app.use express.json. App.listing. From here we'll tell it to listing on our preferred port, the port we set earlier. Then console.log server is running on ports. Then let's write our port's name here on port. Now we tell our server that whenever we run our server, it should be listening on that very port. So the next thing is to test our database connection, and to do that we just need to write a little bit. First of all, we need to import our database. We need to import our database here and write the test connection string. From here I'll just add an export at the back of this statement over here. Now I can actually import it. Import Sequelize from dot slash sorry about that, dot slash config slash db. Actually add the .js file. Then I just noticed that we actually haven't used the course, but it's for now is not necessarily necessary. But then let's just set it up to avoid future stories. Then from here we'll create an asynchronous function to test our database. Test db connection. Nope. Let's wrap everything and try catch block so we can actually listen for errors. Try catch block, await Sequelize dot authenticate console. Connection is established successfully. Otherwise, we just throw the arrow. Otherwise, we just throw the arrow. Let's run our file. Come over to our package restriction over here, and there's a setting I want to do so that whenever we run our file, we're using server instead of index. So come over to this side, we need to set up a script. From here I'll just say server, let's say rov server equals to node. We are using node server.js. Now you might not have node installed on your laptop. To actually do that, you just need to npm have it installed on your laptop globally, install node-g nodemon, and this will configure nodemon on your laptop globally. So whenever you actually create a Nodejs Express application, you don't need to actually do this all the time. So once we've done setting this up, now we will need to come back here, cd ... we change directory back to our root directory, which is our server file. So once you change directory back to our server file, now we can actually use something like this, npm run server. And once we do it, let's see, it said nodemon is not recognized as an internal or external command. Now you see we're on the same page. What I actually need to do is just npm I, which is install for sure, that g globally nodemon. Now you press enter, give it a little bit of time. Now you can see node is done installing on our laptop already. So now let's try it again. npm run server. As you can see, it actually worked, right? Yes, it did work. Now we can see this statement we are getting here is from this side. Server is running on port, the name of our port. But then if you notice something, this function, after creating it, we did not call the function, so everything is just as it is. You get? So now what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to call the test db connection over here and control C and see if it will actually. Now our app crashes. Okay, let's see. What is the issue? Oh. It's not a default export, so you need to wrap this in curly braces. So once you're done, everything should work fine. This error is actually coming from my end because I'm using an IPv4 address and our database connection is on IPv6 address. If your own does work fine, you don't need to actually do this next step. But if you actually have the same error as me that you can see on the screen right now, you don't actually need to panic. Just go back to your Supabase account. You click on this direct connection over here. Let me just come over to your Supabase account, click on database, connect, and you see this direct connection over here. Change it to session puller. And now once you've changed it to session puller, you can see IPv4 compatible right now. So what you don't have to do, we need to copy this very link and come back to our env file and paste it there. So I'll just quickly set it up right now. Control X, cut, Control V, paste, and call sign. Then you actually you need to fill this side with your password that is set up while creating your database project. So for me, it's just this. No, I'm not gonna try to do something like this just to be sure. Windows V, and yeah, and this is not useful. Just Control S it, come back to your and Control S. Now this should work. Is authenticating. Now you can see connection established successful. Now we've successfully verified that our database connection is working. So let's go back and see the next thing on our document. Now we've successfully configured our database and it's working fine. The next thing is to create our users and some PDFs table. In summary, we are creating our models. And to do that, we just need to go back to our VS Code. Now I will just Control C to stop my server from running, and I'll make if you look at my terminal, you can see I'm on the root directory, which is server, and which is also here. So from here I will just click on make directory model and press enter. Now you can see I've created a model. From here first of all, we need two models. The first one is for our users and the second one is for our PDFs. So we'll create the first one, create a file here, and we call it user model.js. Now from here we import our Sequelize from config/db.js. So from here we import our Sequelize. Yeah. Then we import again data types from Sequelize, and now we start export constant user model is equal to Sequelize dot define Now we're creating our user table. That is what we mean by model. From here we have the user ID, which will be of type data types dot UUID. Then we have the default value, which will be of type data types dot UUID. I like to use this v4, and we need to set it as the primary key true. Great. Now come over, and I would like to get the username. Set this to data types dot string. Allow no should be false. Now what this does is, it doesn't, if the user while creating an account doesn't fill the username, it will throw an error. But if it actually allow no to be true, that means the user can actually create an account without entering their username. So we need to make it false, so they can actually create an account alongside with their username. So it should also be unique, obviously. Then we need their email address. And this is of type data type plus string. Also allow no, also we still need to make it false, and unique of course is obviously true. Then password, type also string. Allow no should be false. Now we need our first and last name. False rather. Then from this very side, create a table name. Name of our table should be users, and time stamp should be true. Okay, now we're done creating our user model. Next up is to create our PDF model. For this also, we also need to come over here and create a new file called pdf model.js. Also, we'll be needing our database from config/db.js. So we still need our data types from Sequelize. Then from here we export. The ID, obviously you might have guessed it right, is the same thing. data types dot uuid. Then default value should also be data types dot uuid uuid 4, and it should be the primary key set to true. Now we need to get the user ID. Data types dot view Now we're done creating our model for each of our tables. Yeah, so now what we need to do, we need to define the relationship, because for example a single user can summarize more than one document, and a document, more than one document can belong to a single user. So in order to do this, we need to create a separate file called association.js. J is where we actually need to define our relationship. And then in order to make everything successful, we need to import it in our server.js. We need to import it in our server.js. Import the slash model slash associations.js. Now I need to actually import our models, the PDF and user models, so everything will be synchronized together. Once I import it, after testing our database connection, I will synchronize the database so that our user and PDF tables rather, can be created. So from here I will just import from the slash model slash PDF or user model.js. Then from here I'll just I'll do the same thing here. Now, after testing our database connection, we need to synchronize sync our database here. Now I can do my npm run server again. Now you can see we've gotten this database synced. Now if we go back to our Supabase account over here and we click on table editor, from here you can see we get two tables, which is our PDFs and user tables. Now we are done with that. So next thing on my list is what we are done with: create users and some PDF table. The next thing is the auth flow. Here is where we actually create our authentication flow. So we'll go back to VS Code and Ctrl C to stop the file from running. Then from here, from my terminal, you can see it's on server. You can actually click on this server file and come here and create a new file and say, I'll call it controller. Yeah, and you can also do it from this terminal over here, controller. Then the first one should be our auth controller.js. .js. From here, I will import my JWT from JSON web token. Then I import validator from validator. Then I import ROY pt from script thing. Since we are creating a user, so I will import my user table. I'll come over to our environment variable file over here and create a JSON secret. Can call it whatever thing you want. Now let me quickly explain what these libraries I just imported does. We already know that this .env/config is used to load any variables that we have in this our .env file. Now this base script is used for password hashing. It is used for hashing. This validator is used to check the user's input if it's actually what we want. If it's actually an email address, does it contain an @, rather. If is the first name of the user, it doesn't mean if the user is entering their names, is the field empty or not. Yeah, that is what we use this validator for. We use it to check for empty requests being sent to the backend. Then this JWT is used to sign up a user so that their cookies will actually be saved in their web browser whenever they come back again. So with that being said, let's go. Alright, so now if not process dot our JWT secret that we just created from the backend for on our over here. I'll just copy this to prevent errors. Yeah, I'll just copy that. Here we go through error. Now I can start creating export constant. Request and a response. Yeah, I need to wrap everything here in a try catch block so I can actually catch it. So const, I will destructure everything that I'll be getting from the user. Equal to request dot body. So these are the list of parameters that we'll be getting from the user. According to what we filled here, we'll be getting what? The username, the email address, the password, the first name, and the last name. So if I come over here, I will just write everything as it is: the username, the email, a password, comma, that should be a comma, a password, first name, comma, last name. Yep. Yeah. Now from here we just validate the user to check if they've entered everything. If it's not username or not email or not password or Now once we're done with validation, we check if the user already exists. Because if the user already exists, there's no point for that person to create another account with their email address. Otherwise, they actually need to be redirected to the sign up page, and that should be done on the front end. So let's get start existing user equals to await user model dot find one. Now what I'm doing here basically is this. First of all, I'm trying to check if a user that is trying to create an account has created an account already. So that is what I did here. I check inside our database, and I find a user where the email address is actually equal to the email address this person creating an account is entering. So, and I said if the email address is there, you should return out from the function. You should not create it because the person already exists, so there's no point in creating it. But if the person doesn't exist, then we can proceed further. For first of all, we need to hash the user's password, because it is actually not advisable to save a user password in your database just as the user has typed it on your website. First of all, you actually need to hash it and save the hashed password in your database. So that is what we are going to do right here. Await bcrypt dot hash password, and sort round should be 10. You can actually increase into 12, 15, as much number as you want, but then 10 is kind of, should I say, the generalized way of doing it. So once you've hashed the user's password and you've sure that this person has not created an account before, now this person's account can be created and saved in our database. Await user model dot create. Now we can create an account for this very person. Then username comma email comma first name and last name. Then from here we say password is hashed password. Now you understand, now we've saved the hash password in our database rather. So from here we generate actually we don't have to. So from here we need to return a response to our front end, letting them know what is happening here on the back end, obviously. So 201, that's JSON. Okay, message. And we send the user with the ID, because we actually need to use this. user.username. And now we are almost done. From here, I just quickly console error to catch the error here on my backend error creating user. Then pass the error. Also return the response to the UI. Now with this, we are done with our create user function. Next up is our login function, rather expose constant log in user. Again, our request and our response, then the arrow function, and then we'll wrap everything in a try catch block. Now since the user is logging in, we actually need just the email address and the password from the user, so we grab that from here. Email, password from request.body. So we also do a validation check. If not email or not password, we should return a response 400. The response is status 400. .json message email and password is required right there. Now if everything is fine, we'll check for the user. Now while checking for the user, if we discover that a person has not created an account or the password doesn't match, then we have to throw an error saying the email or password is wrong. So first of all, let's compare the password. I was pagescript.compare password with the user dot password. Now we return a response with status 400 with the message invalid email or password. But if everything is true, we can go ahead and sign the user in. So right now we need to create a token. Constant token equals to JWT dot sign. Here is where we actually sign our JWT token, so that whenever the user visit the website, they don't actually need to keep entering their password all the time. Expires in, I think 1 day is enough. Yeah, 1 day is enough. Then from here we set the token in our browser. Which we create right now. What I've just done right here is this. First of all, we get the email address and password from the user. Then we check if the email or the password is empty. If it's not empty, we proceed to check if the user is actually has an account in the database. If the user doesn't, if the user has an account here, this is where we check it. Now, if the user doesn't have an account, we send them this message. If they doesn't have an account or they have an account and the password is wrong, so we send them this message. Now, if actually both of these things are correct, their email address is correct, that is, they have an account and their password is correct, and they are able to sign up, this to sign in rather, we generate a token for them that will expire in a day, that is 24 hours. And this is where we actually set the token to our browser, http link. Then this secure that I said process.env, it means that if it's on development, it shouldn't bother looking for https. So since we are running it locally in our development variable in our .env file, you can see I actually dropped development there. But if we are actually deploying this thing, we'll set our node environment to production. From there, it will actually look out for https. The same thing go with this same site. And the max age, we're telling the browser that this thing only need to remain in the browser for just a day. Once 24 hours elapses, this thing will be deleted automatically. And what the token does, it tells us that whenever you visit a website, you don't actually need to keep signing up. Imagine you visiting a website just now and you leave the website again, you'll be asked to sign up. You'll be asked to sign in rather. So in order to prevent this, we use this token as another means of authorization. You get to use it to authorize you and check if this user has signed up before. If yes, then just let the user go. If the user has not signed in before and the user has an account, you can let the user create an account and we can help him to manage it for a day, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, and the last thing to do, we need to return our response. Now we need to catch the error here. Console.error. And return a response with status 500. Now we're done with our login. Create user function. So the next thing that we actually need to do is to create our logout user function. So these three, our basic app is ready to fly. What we just do is we clear the cookie. And now we are done with our auth flow. Actually, we're not done. We need to create the route folder and connect everything in our server.js file. So we're not done with our auth flow. The next thing that we need to do right now to complete our authentication flow in full is this. We need to come over to our server directory, which is this very one, which is our root directory for now. Click on this folder plus icon over there and click on routes. You enter that route name, you give the file name route. So that is where we actually define the routes of our controller files, so everything will be moving fine. Yeah, so create a new file here, auth routes.js. From here we import express, from express. Then we import the following functions from our auth controller file. Import the following: create user, login, log out user. Then but now we're not going to set a rate limiter, but as time goes by I will actually show us how to add rate limit to our app. Then create a router, express.router. It's a router.post. This is a post request. Register. Now, since we are done writing our router file, we'll go back to our server.js and connect it. We'll come over here, import our router. I'll call it auth routes from /routes slash auth routes.js. Now what you have to do, I have to come here. Now everything has been connected. What you need to do now, we just need to npm run server and test it out. Okay, so okay, let's test it out with Postman. Let's quickly add a new blank connection over here. Okay, what API is 3000 slash API slash, okay, slash API. Then we have register. So we have register. Let's come back to our VS Code and check what are the things that we need. We need a username, email address, password, first name, and last name. So we'll go over here. So email address is here already. Now, if you notice something, you can see that everything here is on white. So you need to come over to this place that says test, click on it and change it to JSON. So once you change into JSON, you can see now everything will be okay. There won't be an error. So once you fill everything like this that you've seen me done on my screen right now, click on send, and it's sending the request with my fingers crossed. it should work. Okay, still loading. Okay, so guys, after debugging, I discovered that I actually made a typo here. Morgan, I'm supposed to add apt.use Morgan, then we add the dev. Then here, I'm supposed to actually initialize the function other than calling them directly. So this should work. Now we send our request again. Great. I'm getting that error because of how I actually set my variable in Postman. So this should be slash localhost slash API slash auth and then register. Send again. Now we can see that this thing is working very fine. You can see user created successfully with the user ID, username, user email address, first name and last name. And now if we come over to our Supabase right here, you can see that the user has been successfully created. So that is it guys for this video. So next up, we'll be looking at how we're going to make our middleware and start summarizing our PDF. So if you don't want to miss out on my next video, I do encourage you subscribe, like and share with your friends and those you feel like this video might help them. And I do hope this video has actually helped you in a way or two. With that being said, see you guys another time.